Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. So, I want to talk to you today about a very important thing, and that is the bubble of self reflection. We have talked about this before. I have a video called The Bubble of Self Reflection, and you would want to watch it in tandem with this one to get the most out of each. So, I'm not going to go into a great deal of the bubble of self reflection. I'm just going to try and help you see the basics. In other words, that you're in it. That's the most important thing to recognize, because you can't get out of it until you recognize that you're in it. But that recognition that you're in it may be a split second. It doesn't have to be like over the course of a week or a year or a lifetime. If it's over the course of a lifetime, the odds are you're not going to wake up at all. So I have people that I work with who have not woken up for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Two people, 70. I mean, it's a long time to be on a path. I mean, that's where in the hell is that path going? It's not, must not be a very reliable path, because, we've been wandering around the woods for 50 years, and I still don't know where I'm going. So the bubble of self-reflection, I have this drawing, or this picture, which will show it very clearly. You see this? So this woman knows that this woman knows that there is a larger reality. She just feels it, that there's some sort of logical thing here. And she feels like, very much like, there's more to this more here than meets the eye, right? And the problem is, when she goes to look for that larger truth that she just knows is there, that she hopes she just can get, she wants to wake up, then the problem is that she has built this bubble around her. And in this bubble, this person is real. There's a person here, and they are real. There's a living, breathing character there. And when she goes to look for that larger truth, she catches the inside of this bubble that she's built around herself. And on the inside of, and with that inside of the bubble, then she just catches her own reflection. She catches the reflection of the unit. She catches the reflection, projected reflection of her own, of the truth of her own separateness. That there's someone there who is who's trying to get to awakening, that's over there, and I just can't get to it because I'm blocked off from it. I'm separated from it. I'm not good enough to find it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not cool enough. I'm not clean enough. I'm not worthy. No one is worthy of enlightenment. It just doesn't work like that. You don't have to be worthy for enlightenment. If you did, this teaching would have never begun. I am on the Mercy program, and it's what I'm going to recommend to you. Is if you look at the Mercy program, it has nothing to do with worthiness, and it has everything to do with being lucky. So if I wanted to tell you the real shortcut to awakening, I would just have to tell you, well, be lucky. And that would be not easy for you to follow, but because there's no path to it. But that is the surest way to wake up. It's just to be really lucky. That's what I did. That's what pretty much everybody does. But we can encourage how lucky that unit is. We can. We can encourage luck, if you will. And the biggest way to notice it is to notice not what we're going after, but where we are. This woman, this is a self-imposed bubble. She created it. See, this bubble separates her. It separates her from the rest of the world. It separates her from the universe. It separates her from everything. There's just we'll call her Karen, and that's Karen. It looks like a Karen. And that's that Karen is just lost in a make-believe world. A make-believe world where you're going to notice is that it's all about her. Now, Karen has been suffering some drawbacks lately in her life, like her business is not doing well, or her relationship is not doing well, or her health is failing, or somebody else in her family that's dear to her their health is failing. They've just lost a mate. I get a lot of that, and I completely understand this. I'm not making light of this. I spent years in this bubble. I spent years and years in this bubble. Actually, I spent 24 years in that bubble. So I understand that bubble as well as anybody on the planet. And actually, nobody else even really talks about it. So I think I have a full grasp of it. And it's this bubble is what I work with, or it's not what I actually work with. It's what I help you see. It's a bubbleless bubble, just like you heard of the gateless gate, right? Well, this bubble of self-reflection. It's the bubbleless bubble. You have you built it up, and only you can pop it. I can't pop the bubble of self-reflection. I can encourage it so much that it will feel to the pretend me over here that I actually popped the bubble from the outside. It will look like I've woken you up against your will. But I've come to see that it's just not true. I always like to talk about my successes, but I always like to balance that with the fact that there's nothing guaranteed. I had gone along for better than a year without a failing awakening session. When I say failing, it was actually very, very successful because these two people were not supposed to wake up. And guess what? They didn't. So it was perfect. It just didn't feel perfect to them, right? And I can't say it was 1,000% perfect over here, but it was perfect. It was close enough. So the bubble of self-reflection is that because of all these woeful things that have happened in Karen's life, Karen wants to wake up. Well, there's no Karen. I go into this in session and in satsang and all that stuff. I'm not going to do it here. There is no Karen. There's no Fred that's talking to you right now. There's no enlightened Fred. There's no awakened Fred anywhere on the planet. There's no awakened anybody, any character on the planet. There's not an awakened, and God bless them, they're clear, but there's not an awakened Ajashanti, right? There's not an awakened Muji. They just aren't. There is awakeness itself, and that's playing out in Portugal and Northern California and here, and of all places, Columbia, South Carolina. There is awakeness, and it's playing out everywhere else too, just to know, because there's nothing but awakeness. The difference is that there's conscious awakeness here, Northern California, Portugal, and everywhere. I mean, and lots of other places too. Not everywhere else, but lots and lots of other places. But what we do, you have to realize you don't need to wake up. There's no bubble. There's no Karen, and there's no bubble. What is in the bubble? If you take the Karen out of this bubble, what would be left in the bubble? Space. Space would be left in that bubble. And the space inside the bubble is exactly the same as the space outside the bubble. And there's no bubble. So there is only awakeness. There's no Karen who will ever come to see that there is, will ever come to see the truth, and where Karen will know the truth, and Karen can hold the truth with her 3 pounds of goo that we call the brain, and that Karen can hold all things in there. And that's what Karen wants. That's what I wanted, right? It's probably what you want or wanted. It's if you're in this game, you either want it or you've lost it, or you think you've lost it, or you think you need it, meaning you want it. You think you've lost it, which means that you want it, or you know that you're it. Over in consciousness awakeness, we sense simply awakeness that knows what it is. It's not Fred that comes to understand some foreign truth. It's awakeness that comes to understand that there's only awakeness. This is the reason I tell you over and over again that you don't need to wake up. You just need to notice that you're already awake. You're already awakeness. Awake and not awake is pointing to a unit. And you think that, or many think that there's an enlightened Fred unit here and unenlightened out there. And there is no Fred. There's no Fred that's enlightened. There's no Fred that's not enlightened. There is no Fred that has any height, weight, or takes up any volume. And where I come from, we call things that don't have any height, weight, or volume, we call those thoughts, right? So there is a Fred thought, but it's not owned by Fred. It's just an arising thought, right? And then another arising thought goes, oh, that's my thought. And the two thoughts begin to refer to each other. That's the only thing that thoughts can refer to is each other, because there's nothing else for them to refer to. There's no Fred. There's no truth in the middle. In this bubble, there's no truth inside this bubble. But there ain't no bubble. So if you can notice that you're awake. You're awakeness. You're not awake. You're awakeness. You're already awakeness. You're already awakeness. Awakeness is always here, and it's always clear, and it does not need a Fred Davis to help it. However, awakeness does not always know the truth. It does not know that it's here already, and it does not know that it's clear already. So the clearing and and when I say clear, I mean there's no way that awakeness, which is all that there is, there's no way that awakeness is not clear. But what's happening is that this explosive experience of living is occurring through these things, right? So we think that this body is going to wake up. We think the Fred character is going to wake up. But this just can't happen, folks. There's no Fred and there's no Karen. So Karen is never going to break through this bubble. Karen is going to realize, well, Karen is never going to realize anything. Pardon me. Awakeness is going to come to realize there's no bubble and there's no Karen. And that's what awakening is. It's coming to see that there's no you, no personal me, that there's no personal me on the planet. So there's no personal me that can gain weight, and there's no personal me that can be killed, and there's no personal me that can wake up or fail to wake up or have awakeness and then lose it. Oneness really would have a great deal of, just look at the logic of this. We're all pursuing this thing of oneness. Well, assuming that there is an awakening and oneness sees that there's only oneness, given that there's only one oneness, which is the real key to it, what do you think? Do you think it's possible that oneness actually falls out of oneness? You think that there's two onenesses and one of them hangs up the line and the other one is now saying, oh my God, I'm disconnected? There's just one thing. There's no disconnection. There's a sense of disconnection. There's a sense of someone here. There's a sense of a Fred, and there used to be a sense that there was a Fred here and that he was not awake and that he needed to wake up desperately. None of that's true. There's no Fred. There's no one here, period. There really is not. I understand that within relativity, there's a shell. And I, awakeness, am using that shell. It's like a suit. This is like sort of like my virtual reality goggles. And I put this suit on in order to come here and experience a world objectively. And in other words, and the only world that I can experience, because there's not anything but me, is I come to experience myself objectively. And I come to know, oh, I see now, I'm awakeness. And when you're listening to this from small mind, then what I'm going to tell you is that this is not going to sound like a lot. You reckon that awakeness recognizes that it's awakeness. And if you haven't just done that, or you haven't done that in the past, whatever, it doesn't sound like big potatoes, but it is big potatoes, because that doesn't change anything other than everything. When we change where we're looking from, we change what we're looking at. What we're looking at changes. We don't do it. It just happens. So, and rather than looking for awareness, notice that right now you're looking from awareness, right? You are the awakeness that's allowing for sight. And you are, this is languaging, so it's not 1,000% correct, but it's still a worthwhile teaching. And just imagine that you are looking through this unit instead of as this unit. That awakeness is just using this meat puppet, and you'll be close to the truth. Very close, but won't be on the money. But it's a metaphor you can learn to use. You can use it as a teaching tool until you don't need it anymore. What I'm trying to do is to give you tools. And when I do that, I run the risk of giving people enough rope to hang themselves. If I was less clear, then you would not have so much difficulty with this. You would understand there's someone who needs to wake up. If I was more clear than this, I don't think you'd be able to hear me, because I know a couple of guys whose teaching is clearer than this, but not nearly so effective as this in terms of being beneficial to masses. And I'm beneficial to masses. This teaching is beneficial to masses, one person at a time. Right? Other than the Little Awakening series I just had, which was very successful. But it's coming to see that there's no bubble to the bubble of self-reflection, that there's no one to break through the bubble. There's nothing to break through. This is it. And to a small mind, this doesn't sound like much. It doesn't sound like enough. But this is all that there is. And only when all that there is recognizes that this is all that there is, does it count. If Fred recognizes that there's no Fred, well, who's seeing that? Fred. Well, that just doesn't count. That's not awakening. It's when it's really seen. It's when it's seen by awakeness. You are awakeness. You are a verb, not a noun. Well, this has been fun. I'm going to say a quick thank you to whoever in Denmark it was that sent me these bracelets. I appreciate that. I am a fool for physical ornamentation because I am. There's no because, just the unit can't not be. So I appreciate that. I love you all. I really do. And all of you love me. And many of you recognize that, and some of you don't. And that's okay too. I still love you. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.